Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching a brand new edition of Policy Watch with me, Frank and Pereira. The Reserve Bank on Thursday directed all regulated entities, including banks, not to provide services to businesses dealing in virtual currencies like Bitcoin so as to protect consumer interest and check money laundering. Technological innovations, including virtual currencies, have the potential to improve the efficiency and inclusiveness of the financial system, the RBI said after its first bi-monthly monetary policy review of 2018-19. However, virtual currencies, also variously referred to as cryptocurrencies and crypto assets, raise concerns of consumer protection, market integrity and money laundering. RBI said it has repeatedly cautioned users, holders and traders of VCs, including Bitcoins, regarding various risks associated in dealing with such virtual currencies. In our first segment of Policy Watch today, we will analyze the Apex Bank's move of shutting down virtual currencies. Joining me on the program today are Subhomoy, Bhattacharjee, consulting editor of the Business Standard, and Virag, Gupta, cyber law expert. Thank you to both my guests for joining me on this edition of Policy Watch. Virag, Gupta, let me begin with you. Of course, what is virtual currency and how widespread is it?
No, this is very widespread, as we have seen the budget speech of Arun Jaitley ji, where he said that it has to be stopped in India. Problem is that we have yet to issue formal order making it illegal. That's the biggest problem. Even the RBI has said that you have to refrain from selling, buying or whatsoever may be, and their detailed order we have yet to see. Now, there are three things which are yet happening. Number one, you have not stopped the exchanges which are dealing with the Bitcoins. So, if you are stopping it, then why not to stop those exchanges which are dealing in the Bitcoins? The second is those who have already dealt in Bitcoins and using it for the criminal purposes or for the unlawful purposes, you are imposing some capital gain tax, token capital gain tax, and giving some sort of tax benefits. And why to give the tax benefits to them? Once you have given the tax benefit, it means you are regularizing and legalizing. Now, the third thing, today only I have seen that in the social media, this is vitally circulated. Different type of platforms are there from which you can purchase the Bitcoins. Now, Bitcoin is illegal, where you have rightly said that the three aspects are there as reiterated by the RBI: market integrity, consumer protection, and stop the things like the money laundering. We have seen the Bitcoins uses in this CBSE exam leak paper also, that people are asking for the Bitcoins. So, I personally feel that instead of issuing this problem by the different quarters of the financial sector, Government of India should come with the policy decision making it illegal, so that customers should know that this is illegal and we should not invest in Bitcoins either directly or indirectly.
Sure. Subhomoy Bhattacharjee, as Virag Gupta just pointed out, Bitcoins, or virtual currency is widespread. Its use is very much a big part of the Indian system and the world system as well. Considering that, the RBI decision, do you believe we are going to see some kind of a backlash in the near future? And who's going to be affected as a result of the RBI deciding to shut down on virtual currencies?
If you talk about who should have first of all taken the responsibility of stopping the spread of cryptocurrencies, obviously RBI as the regulator of the monetary sector has to be the first court of appeal, and definitely they have moved in the right direction. So that is the point well taken. You could ask whether cryptocurrencies as a force is something that can be stopped, but that is something we can talk about later. But the point is, if the RBI says that yes, or if the government says that yes, we do not want cryptocurrencies at this stage of our monetary policy system to be there in the economy, then RBI definitely has to be the one which will have to take the call. So there I'll say, I was listening to Mr. Gupta very carefully, and he is right in saying that government first of all has to ensure that there is no ecosystem available for cryptocurrency to be legal if RBI says that cryptocurrency cannot be used at all. You cannot have two standards for cryptocurrencies. You've got to say that it's banned in all respect. That's very important. But I'll differ from him in saying that more than policy, I am comfortable in the fact that RBI, as the implementer of that policy, has moved in. Because that is where the ball starts, the action actually happens. You have to say that, I mean, because it's RBI which has got the ability to monitor, to police the entire banking system and to ensure that cryptocurrencies do not work. So if that has been decided and RBI has moved in, fair enough. I would say that that's a good starting point. That's a good starting point, and that's where the message had to go out from.
Sure. You know, Virag Gupta, who stands to lose as a result of the RBI deciding to shut down in virtual currencies? Another aspect is that on the one hand, the RBI is saying that, you know, we're going to shut down virtual currencies. On the other hand, it's saying that we'll come out with our own virtual currency. So, I mean, there seems to be a conflict of interest there.
No, there are three issues are there. Number one, virtual currency has to be defined in the IT Act and as per the law. Because RBI is a regulator and they have to take the actions as per the regulatory authority given to them. And I personally feel till now this virtual currency has not been legally defined. Number two, whether the RBI has the authority to issue any currency other than rupee, because the RBI is running as per the parliamentary mandate. So I personally feel that RBI can't do such type of experiment. Now coming again to the main point that unified decision has to be taken. Now some typical position has come. 31st March, as per the government permission, somebody has given the capital gain tax on the Bitcoin transactions. Now they have certain stocks of the Bitcoin. They want to sell it. Now RBI has stopped from selling and buying through the banking channel. Now what is the option with that person who is having the Bitcoin stock? Now they will sell it either some illegal channel or something in international currency where government will be defrauded in the taxation, and that we are generating the illegal money. That's why Finance Ministry, RBI and the IT Ministry have to take a consolidated view. RBI alone can't enforce this restriction on the Bitcoin. This I personally feel.
Sure. You know, what are the dangers, Subhomoy, of virtual currency, and why is it that the RBI wants to shut down these virtual currencies cryptocurrency?
Frankly, you just referred to the issue of Bitcoin being used as payment for exam leaks. That itself is a very good example. Anything that is illegal, but cryptocurrency gives a tremendous advantage for anybody to make a payment for any illegal services, or even for illegal services through illegal payment through that medium. So that is the biggest advantage that cryptocurrency provides. At its genesis, the cryptocurrency had a different reason why they originated. They originated because of a sort of a revolution or a rebellion against the central banks of the world. Why? Because the central banks were seen as, through the quantitative easing that was being done repeatedly in euro markets, in euro as well as in the US market, of undercutting the value of currency. You know, currencies were not reaching, whether the dollar or the euro were not reaching their true position. And the cryptocurrency was basically a way for people who are holding liquid assets to say that we do not believe in the value setting that the central banks are doing. They're sort of, you know, gambling. And that sort of gambling should not be done against, I mean, people shouldn't be forced to get into that sort of a gamble. So cryptocurrency was a sort of a rebellion against that. So in principle, that's a great idea. But the problem is people who had the ability and the money promptly realized that this was a way to undercut the discipline which had been created through the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, the global anti-money laundering systems, to block illegal transactions, whether they're called the Hawala or the larger narco-terrorist funding. This entire architecture found a great source to launder money through cryptocurrency. So that is where the big danger comes along. That cryptocurrency can actually undermine the entire banking system's discipline that has been set up. You know, all your KYC could be just useless, because while the legal systems will show that the KYC is being formulated, payments will not actually touch the legal systems. It will go in through the subterranean force. So that is where the biggest risk of cryptocurrency comes in.
Sure.
And now with the fact that the cryptocurrency has actually has got an exchange in USA, the first cryptocurrency exchange has been formally launched. You can buy futures in cryptocurrency. It is it sort of straddles the world between being legal and illegal in quite a few respects. I mean, there's a market and there's a liquidity for that market, and that is where RBI's position that it bans cryptocurrency will, as Mr. Gupta said, will now have to be buttressed by subsequent actions.
Sure, sure. Virag Gupta, is there any kind of regulatory framework internationally to deal with virtual currencies?
I personally feel that till the time we in the India frame some sort of regulatory framework, we should not expect some international regulatory framework. Now, there are three important areas. Number one, in India, other than rupee, there can't be any other currency. That's why even if you have the dollar, then you have to convert into rupee, then only you can operate it. So, cryptocurrency or the bitcoins are illegal, but till this time, even the RBI has not said that this is illegal. So, why we are not saying that is a cautious move? I do understand they have to confront with the technological innovations also. There are many type of technological barriers also. But till this time, neither the government nor the RBI or any authority has said that this is illegal. Secondly, he has rightly said that this is gambling. Now, gambling itself is a crime. So, how can you impose a capital gain tax on the gambling and you are legalizing it? Now, the third important point is that cryptocurrency is coming in a different shape and different type of forms. Now, we don't know that in what form it is coming, and they may be harming the interest of the consumers, which has been mentioned in the RBI. Unfortunately, it is coming with the monetary policy, and they have yet to issue the complete guidelines and regulations regarding this aspect. So, I personally feel this is a good initiative, but RBI alone can't regulate it, and for that purpose,
Sure.
Finance Ministry and IT Ministry has to come forward.
All right. A quick concluding remark from you, Subhomoy Bhattacharjee, on what's likely to happen in the days to come as far as cryptocurrency is concerned.
It'll be very important to monitor it, because what will happen is India is becoming the biggest center of electronic payment mechanisms and our digital money, and those are rapidly coming center stage. So, a clarity on cryptocurrency will be very important, and I expect that very soon, after RBI has made the position clear, there will be series of cascading orders that will be coming along from the different agencies blocking access to cryptocurrencies.
Sure. Okay. All right. On that note, then, it's time for a short break now. Still to come, RBI asks all payment system operators to store data in India. We'll discuss why on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
In India, still 40 crore people, they don't have access to electricity. We must give emphasis to both, grid connected and off grid. A country like India that has got, I also believe, a strong potential and need also. The solar program should be a mass program. It should not be only government driven program. It should be, that rules, regulations should be very flexible and pro people.
Watch Eureka with eminent scientist Dr. S.P. Gon Chaudhary, 4 p.m. Saturday and 12 noon Sunday, only on Rajya Sabha television. Enter the majestic forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan and you'll come across the Jaipur column. A gift to the Viceroy from Savai Madho Singh, the Maharaja of Jaipur, to commemorate the creation of the new capital. The 145-meter high column is crowned with 6 pointed crystal stars on a bronze lotus, and inside the stone shaft runs a steel tube which weighs a little more than 5 tons. The base of the column has text conceived by Lord Irwin and Sir Edwin Lutyens inscribed on it.
Welcome back. You're watching Policy Watch with me, Frank Pereira. All payment system operators in the country will henceforth be required to store data within India to ensure safety and security of users' information, the RBI said on Thursday. The operators will be given 6 months' time to comply with the directive of the central bank. In a statement, the RBI said ensuring the safety and security of payment systems data by adoption of the best global standards and their continuous monitoring and surveillance is essential to reduce the risks from data breaches while maintaining a healthy pace of growth in digital payments. In recent times, the payment ecosystem in India has expanded considerably with the emergence of new payment systems, players and platforms. The spotlight on data security comes at a time when social media giant Facebook has faced a global backlash over breach of user data. In our next segment, we will analyze the impact of RBI's latest decision. Still with me on the program are Subhomoy Bhattacharjee, consulting editor of the Business Standard, and Virag Gupta, cyber law expert. Subhomoy, I'd like to begin this segment with you. Of course, has the Facebook data leak or everything that we've seen happening with Facebook over the last few days spooked the RBI into taking this decision?
Normally, RBI wouldn't be moving just on these sort of things for two reasons. First of all, last year itself, RBI had set up a committee under Mr. Ratan Vattal, the advisor in the Niti Aayog, and several others, distinguished gentlemen, to decide what should be the payment architecture for digital money in India. And they had made a series of recommendations. RBI's current step is actually, follows up that. To their credit, the committee did not say that the payment architecture in India should be India focused in the sense that the data should be kept in India. What they had looked at was what measures should be taken to make digital money more efficient. And that mandate incidentally came on the back of the other move, which was initiated by the government of India on demonetization. The reason I bring up this is to say that this is a series of events that had happened, the result of which is that RBI yesterday saying its decision that we want all data regarding payment to be there in India. Now, payment data is a different thing from what the Facebook data issue is all about. The Facebook data is about data breach, data security of individuals. That could be breached whether it's within India or whether it's abroad. And for that there are mechanisms, issues and different things. What RBI is saying is that whatever data relating to payment has to be transacted with Indian resident Indians has to be through Indian based mechanisms. The servers, whether they are, I mean, of course, it's a bit of a today's world, it's a bit of a dicey thing to say. How do the servers, I mean, does it mean that it has to be located physically within India, or it has to be by an entity which is controlled by India? If it's a cloud, for instance, where the data is kept, it's not necessary that it's within India. It has to be in the geographical instinct, because it's a cyber world. What it basically means is it has to be India controlled entities, which will ensure that the data flows on payment are stored within India. And why has it been said so? Because this data, even more than the data, the Facebook issue or the Google issue, which are flagged, is money, and their use and who has access to them creates a corresponding market for this thing. It's data now today is like the new oil economy. And that data, the access to the data by a company who handles it has gives it tremendous financial powers to create a corresponding market, subsequent markets. It's almost like they can create derivatives markets and other markets on that. So that data, therefore, who controls it is something that is going to be hotly contested. And in this world, there are three major economies which are going to control it. Essentially, USA, China and India. So it stands to reason that RBI is sort of wading into this space.
Indeed. Virag Gupta, how is it going to help with the payment data being stored within India itself?
It is a welcome move, and the purpose which has been told by the RBI is unfettered access for the supervisory purposes. Now, he has rightly said that this is to secure the data. Now, the 2 points are there. Number one, whether it has to be stored in the Indian servers or it has to be controlled by the Indian entities. We don't know, because the detailed regulations yet to come, and the 6 months time has been given to these payment systems. Now, this is in compliance to the Public Records Act also, because this data is something RBI data. RBI is a parliamentary body, so it cannot be transferred out of India. But there are two more important aspects are there. Earlier there were the credit card frauds were there, and so many data leak were there, and we were not able to take the action because the data server data are not in India. So this data is not misused, not only from the Facebook purposes, we have to see this from the Aadhaar purpose also. Now the Aadhaar biggest challenge is whether Aadhaar data can be leaked or not. And if this data, this payment service data is leaked, then there are chances that all persons who are using these platforms are exposed, their payment habits and all the things are there. So if data is in India or it is controlled by the Indian entities, then there are jurisdiction is there of the RBI. That's why they say that we will have the efficient supervisory control on those companies who are having those data.
You know, so, on the other side of it, it raises snooping concerns as well, and could be a problem as far as privacy laws are concerned.
Data leak and snooping can always be there, whether data is in India or in USA. The only thing is, if the snooping is there from the Indian entity or Indian servers, then RBI has the authority and control to punish the culprits. But if it is done by the US entity or authorities, then we don't have any control. This purpose of this whole regulation is to acquire the jurisdiction by the RBI.
Sure. Sure. So what will the operators have to do in the days to come, Subhomoy? Because the RBI has said 6 months' time now to ensure that all the data is stored within India. You raised several challenges in your opening remarks itself. Is it physically going to be in India? What's likely to happen? Do we have to wait for the guidelines to figure out what's going to happen over the next 6 months? So what do these operators have to do really?
The 6-month thing is basically a sort of a time for dialogue, and we shouldn't be reading too much into it that the entire process will be completed, for the simple reason that we do not know as yet what is the full process. Electronic money and the surveillance of electronic money and the way it gets transacted and the way different entities of the world connect and do business with each other is still a very emerging economy. And as the 21st century moves into digital money so vigorously, there are lots of issues that are coming up. So I would suspect that what basically RBI would be able to do in the 6 months is that it will generally be able to tell the entities that, look, whenever you're making your next business move, that business move should reflect the fact that you got to be under our surveillance. That is what I expect would be happening. For instance, supposing if you were to say that all transactions should, say I make a payment to you, and that payment has to, does it always have to go through that payment number, does it have to have an Indian code attached to it, digital code attached to it? Now, whether that coding will have to be completed within 6 months, or whether the company will be willing to say that, yes, I have put in mechanism to ensure that from now all those codes will be, India based. So there are lots of things that would be coming into place. So I would think that the 6 months is a sort of more of a sort of bargaining position. That
where does it leave big players like Visa and Amex and MasterCard?
Not only them, the bigger ones would be even Google.
Yeah,
Google has set up Tej.
WhatsApp as well.
Exactly. Well, they have set up the payment mechanism, which in fact in the last segment, as you were mentioning, these are payment mechanisms within India and of India. The electronic commerce market, which is now opening up and which is expanding, quadrupling every day, that's sort of a market. In that market, all these players who come in, anybody big, and it's not just the credit card companies. Every company now is creating its new ways of helping transactions happen, financial transactions happen. So all of them are becoming big payment players. So those payment players will now have to be sort of willing and able to comply with the fact that RBI will also have a skin in the game.
Sure.
And that is where I think the process just starts. Because even RBI today, even if it's asked that what do you mean by having all the things within India and whether all the things can be done within 6 months, I don't think the answer would be a flat yes.
Yes. Okay. So where does this all lead to, and what's the final outcome of this going to be, Virag Gupta? Because over the last few weeks, we've seen several bank frauds taking place. Is this going to put an end to all of that because of the supervisory powers that the RBI is going to have?
This is a good beginning in totally different domain, and it can be adopted by the other agencies also. First, let me reply about the servers issue. I think that this is very clear. Either it has to be in Indian servers, and if it is in cloud, then that should be controlled by the Indian entities. That should be the right spirit of understanding this regulation. Now, to enforce this regulation in the true spirit, two challenges are there. The first challenge is, like we have started the smart city campaign. So, we have to see the IT infrastructure also. Now, you have issued a guideline that all the data should be in the Indian servers, and if you don't have the cities like Bangalore, more Bangalore cities where you can keep these IT servers, so we may be obstructing this digital payment growth. So, that aspect has to be there. For that purposes, you have to get the support from the government, other agencies. Now, the second big challenge is, with this, they will have to address the issue of the social media banking also. Many private banks and the public sector banks are doing the banking through the WhatsApp and other channels. Those are not the PSOs. Now, those companies are keeping the data outside India, and those companies don't have any entity, they don't have any legal base in India. How they are allowed, what type of licenses they have been given by the RBI, and in the name of social media, can WhatsApp or Facebook can be allowed to be associated with any bank which is coming under the regulation of the RBI. So, those things are also be seen, and everything, this digital new mode has to be seen in a new holistic manner, not in the conventional manner as being seen by the RBI.
Okay, all right then. On that note, we'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of Policy Watch. I'd like to thank both my guests, Subhomoy Bhattacharjee and Virag Gupta, for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. You can send your feedback and suggestions to us as well. Our email ID is policywatch.feedback@gmail.com. You can also tweet to us using our Twitter handles at FRP09 and at Rajya Sabha TV. That's it from me. See you again next time.